Back when Mom and I used to go running together. Oh, if you ran, it was just going to be that much worse. It's Saturday, I'm Akorn, and today we're going back to a time when there were good movies, good cars, and people still had common sense. Hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into today's show, starting with the AkornTV Weekly Puzzle. This week's clue is Gen X Life, and the letters RST, LNE are now showing on the board. So drop your guesses in the comments and stay tuned because I'll reveal the answer later on in the show. I'm this old. Yes, we are. The whole internet collaborated and couldn't find what this is. I'm not sure what this is. 90% of people don't know too. That has to be fake, right guys? I mean, seriously? Surely people can figure out what a cheese cutter is. I still have one that's almost identical to this. Metallica concerts in 1986. Metallica concerts in 2026. Well, they're probably not wrong. I recently entered a competition to see who'd gained the most weight and lost the most hair. Obviously, it wasn't called that. It was advertised as a school reunion. Yeah, that literally is pretty much what they are. I never bothered going to any of my school reunions that they had. How many of you guys have went back to a school reunion before? The Chuck E. Cheese I grew up with would have had today's Chuck E. Cheese in the back of a trunk. That is absolutely true. Our Chuck E. Cheese looked like a mafia boss with his bow tie and cigar. Today's Chuck E. Cheese looks like the nerd on the student council. I can still smell these. Not to sound geriatric, but you know what I miss? Turning something on and it just works. No account, no app, no QR code, no sign in to continue. Just plug it in and it does the thing it was made to do. Yeah, well, it's like one of the memes that I had last week where someone was showing their toaster. They wasn't able to make toast yet because it had to connect to the internet to do an update. It's only going to get worse, unfortunately, guys. Which store do you miss the most? I'd have to say Radio Shack. I used to go there a lot back in the day. And not so much for the big electronics or stuff, but most of the time it would be things like special cables, diodes, resistors, soldering iron, and supplies like that. A lot of the things that I used to repair other electronics. And remember, no one can prove you weren't a regional manager for Radio Shack or Toys R Us. That is a fact check true. When your favorite song comes on, but there's too many people around. When mom was sick, so dad dressed you for picture day. Yeah, that's almost as good as the Marlboro jackets. This is a sales receipt for a brand new 1966 Impala, which had a grand total of $3,882. And that included the 425 horsepower V8 turbojet engine. I don't remember anyone worrying about germs. We were too busy being kids. That is a fact check true. The biggest overthinking during childhood after eating a watermelon seed. Yeah, it's what most of us were told, at least. We either did or knew somebody that had these on every table in the house. I don't know about every table, but I remember my grandmother that had a few of these at least. Always leave a smile wherever you go. Well, whoever lost those probably never went swimming again without taking their dentures out first. Doctor, what activity causes you to start feeling pain? Me, when I wake up. Unfortunately, that is actually true some days. More days than we'd like to admit. Age test. Do you know what's inside of this case? Usually, these cases were for sewing machines. This one here does look a bit different than most, but I think that's still what it is. My dad explaining why he has no clothes to donate to the thrift store. You women don't understand the life cycle of men's clothing. A shirt starts out as office wear until it gets a stain. Then it moves down to home clothes. Once it gets a hole in it, it drops to garage clothes. That's for repairs, mowing the lawn, and painting. When it gets too many holes, it finally evolves into a rag. And after that, then it returns to the earth and the circle of life is complete. I especially like the last part there. Be honest, if someone handed you the keys to a stick shift right now, could you drive it without a problem? Yeah, but depending on the vehicle, you might have to learn the temperament of the clutch, especially in some of the old trucks. I really think tossing and turning at night should be counted as an exercise. Yeah, I agree. I'd rather just stay up than to be tossing and turning all night, because even if you do finally go to sleep, I'll wake up feeling more tired than when I went to bed. This is how to call your friends in the 1980s. Here's several movie listings with their showtimes at the local theater. All great movies with completely different, and at that time, brand new storylines. Unlike today, where everything is literally a remake, a reboot, a sequel, prequel, or some other kind of spinoff. This should shut those idiots up who thought it was aliens. Yeah, I guess they finally figured it out, guys. If your teacher ever sent you outside to clap the erasers, you're from a different generation. I guess if kids tried to go outside today during school hours, the school would probably have a lockdown and call the police. In this deleted scene from The Empire Strikes Back, look at Darth Vader's reaction. He's just like, the Force wasn't with him. Hear me out. We make new Amish towns, but instead of 18th century customs, it's just the 90s forever. There's Blockbuster and Pizza Hut and no social media, but you can use AOL Instant Messenger. Yeah, I guess you would have to go into the 90s if you wanted to at least have the basic internet. However, I could definitely do without the internet altogether if everything was back to the 80s. Well, there's at least one thing that has stayed pretty much consistent across just about every generation. Here's a news article I come across this week. Ontario woman's 52-year-old air conditioner wins longest running unit contest. It's been said they don't make them like they used to, and it's true for many appliances within our household. This woman had been using this air conditioner to keep her house cool for 52 years, and it was still functioning perfectly. However, the so-called prize for winning this contest was a brand new air conditioner with the claim it'll save her money in electricity costs. And we all know that is a lie, just like LED bulbs. But what a downgrade. I bet the new AC won't even last 3 years. They're making all new Transformers pinball machines. They only cost just $7,000. And if it was only a quarter a game, that means you'd have to play 28,000 games before you got your money back. A box of old Nintendo games discovered in Wisconsin could be worth millions of dollars. A box contained nearly 100 copies of a previously unknown version of Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. Experts said the cartridges were printed 2 years after the last known production run and featured different labels, screws, manuals, and motherboards. The seller said Nintendo sent the games to a metal recovery service to be melted down for gold, but they were never destroyed. I also read another article that the place that found these were originally gonna sell them for $15 a piece. Why couldn't we just had a few of these, guys? We had less and somehow more. Well, we had a whole lot less of all the garbage that we do today, but we had a whole lot more of a real life. I'm sure some of you ladies will probably remember this. The clue for today's puzzle was Gen X life. Let's see how many of you got it right. The answer is Blockbuster membership card. I'd say almost all of us had one of these. The 1960 Corvair baby cradle, touted as a safe and comfortable way to carry your baby. I don't really have anything else to add to this one, guys. Aging gracefully is a polite way of saying you're looking worse, but slowly. Well, when you think about it, that's actually true. Back in our day, drink your raw egg, son. It'll put hair on your chest. 2026. The government. Uncooked cookie dough is a controlled substance. Yeah, this is almost true. And the main reason is because of how the food supply has been destroyed, just like everything else. Eggs you buy at the store are at least 1 month old, if not older, and they put them through all kinds of chemical baths and who knows what else, which an eggshell is actually very porous. And all that stuff goes through to the egg. And that's besides all the fake eggs that exist. If you found out that a snuffleupagus never even existed here, would you investigate the phenomenon known as the Mandela effect? Well, with the way things are going, guys, it wouldn't surprise me if this doesn't happen. When it does, remember, you heard it here first. We were too young to realize that Slowpoke Rodriguez was always high. Well, that would explain a lot, guys. I would expound a little further on this, but YouTube would probably just hit the video. When life gives you lemons like these, it's time to stop living next to the nuclear reactor. I have to say, that is one heck of a lemon. Either that, or that person has really tiny hands. Remember, son, do nothing all day, and you're lazy. But do it next to a smoker, and you're a pitmaster. I think most of my problems can be traced back to all the Aquanet I inhaled in the 80s. We lived for Friday nights when the whole crew piled into 2 cars and drove around town with the windows down and the music louder than the engine. So apparently, if you keep to yourself and don't bother people, it bothers people. This is literally true today. When it's past 9 p.m. and your birth year starts with 19. Yeah, for most people, I guess. Don't get me wrong, I definitely need rest, but my insomnia usually doesn't agree. Warner Brothers officially rebooting 41-year-old fantasy classic with new movie. Warner Brothers is getting in on the 1980s revival with another classic Saturday morning cartoon getting the reboot treatment in the form of a feature-length film. Warner Brothers is set to follow the lead of studios like Sony Pictures and Amazon MGM Studios with titles like Master of the Universe and Voltron by bringing a Thundercats movie to the big screen in the near future. Instead of watching some reboots, click that like button if you'd rather just watch the originals. Kmart sounds great. Yeah, let's see, we got the Panasonic clock that had the plastic flip-over numbers, where each one would flip over every time the minute changed, the cassette player that also had a microphone built in so you could record, and the little portable GE radio. Looks like this model also had a weather radio in it too. Back in my day, buying a game actually meant you owned it. Yeah, just like movies and everything else. When you really start to think about it, guys, it's getting to the point now that we don't own anything. Me trying to act cool behind a bus so the kids in the back don't make fun of me. That's actually pretty funny. Remember when you could lay in one position for hours? Now you have to rotate like a rotisserie chicken every 15 minutes, or a hip hurts. Yeah, hips, back, shoulders. I guess my neck is worse though. I have some issue in my neck, and if I don't get my head positioned just right with the pillow, I'll wake up with a migraine. That's just one of the triggers though. Critics, talkers, doers. Critics watch, talkers talk, doers win. Actually, the doers is usually the ones that end up just getting used, because they have to carry the critics and the talkers who don't do anything. A psychologist recently explained something interesting. Why 90s kids develop different thinking patterns than Gen Z, largely because of games. Back then, no autosaves, no hints, just 3 lives. Games like Super Mario Bros. And Prince of Persia taught, fail, restart, and keep going. You had to earn progress. Games like Tetris and The Legend of Zelda trained maps and patterns, building memory, navigation, and patience. Finish a level, turn off the console. No infinite dopamine. Play was social. One couch, one screen. Real conflict and cooperation. Today, games like Fortnite and Roblox are endless, with autosaves and reward systems that keep you playing. They hold your attention, but don't train completion the same way. The difference is simple. 90s kids built focus and tolerance for failure, while today's players are shaped by constant stimulation. What do you think about this? I'd say that this point here is pretty true. The games we played, you kept playing it until you got good enough to beat the game, because the game actually had an end to it. But then, we would see if we could beat the game faster, get a higher score, or find the secret level that we heard someone else talking about, or whatever. But today's games never end. There is no end level, no end boss to beat, which also means there's really no winning the game at all. They just play the game endlessly until they get bored of it and move on to the next one, which is the same way. If you'd like to help support the channel and get some great gear for yourself, family, and friends, check out all the new designs in the AkornTV merch store. That link can be found down below in the video description. I'd like to thank all of you who watched the video to the end, because it really helps to support the channel. The next AkornTV livestream hangout is tomorrow night, Sunday, August 16th, at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone is welcome to come hang out. You can just watch or join in the chat. You can search Twitch for AkornTV, or the link can be found down below in the video description. Join me tomorrow on my other channel, AkornTV, for the latest episode of Laugh While the World Burns, which airs every Sunday. And I'll see you guys on the live stream tomorrow night. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this weekend. This is Akorn, over and out.